morning, my loves. Let me get my camera just right. Good morning, my loves. I hope you're doing well this morning. I thank you for joining me. You are watching a made up mess on the We Empower Network, and my name is Wanda Leonard. So, this morning, I'd like to do something a little different than I've been doing before in terms of my show. Normally, we play in makeup as I tell you different stories about my journey doing life. As you know, I'm very passionate about mental health concerns and issues. I'm compassionate about chronic pain, in particular fibromyalgia and autoimmune diseases. And the big thing for the month is breast cancer. Pre, in the fight, and post breast cancer, and how that has affected my life, and important things that I want you to know. Should you be diagnosed with breast cancer? Should you be in the middle of the fight with breast cancer? And should you be someone who is trying to support someone with breast cancer? Well, I mentioned earlier on my page that we will be talking about breast, baby. We will be talking about you and me, and we'll be talking about all the good things and the bad things breast may be. Okay, so at first, let me just tell you that I am a breast cancer survivor. I like to think about myself as a warrior. I like to think about myself as someone who stuck and dug in the trenches when I had no vision, no book to rely on, no view, no which way to go. But if it wasn't for people, if it wasn't for people, and if it wasn't for God, I don't know that I would have made it thus far and we'd be chatting today. Let me tell you one thing: breast, breast cancer, things away from a person, and yet give some things to a person that many people don't talk about and that we may not realize. For myself, my breast and I had a very contentious relationship. They were something that at the beginning of formation were high on my radar as something that I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. I didn't know how, but I knew I needed to listen. You see, as my breasts were forming, I can remember it being the most painful situation and experience that I had gone through thus far in my life. They were something that I did not want to form. I did not want breast. For you see, I had gone through a series of sexual abuse, molestation, and different, should I say, predators thus far, being only about 8 to 9 years old at the time when they started coming. The wind could brush across my breast. They were painful in the shower. I preferred baths. I didn't want to come near anyone. As a matter of fact, during school, I found myself crossing my hands and crossing my chest and holding my breast at different times during the day so as to not encounter them with anyone. You see, my breast was a sacred area. They had not been touched. In fact, they were mere nipples, they weren't there. So I was safe with my breast. I knew no one had touched my breast. I knew being a woman, that was a central part of me. But you see, at that moment, I didn't even want to be a woman. I didn't want to get any older, just deal with what I'm dealing with and know that that's mine, that's all mine, my breast. Well, there's nothing you can do about Mother Nature. There's nothing you can do about developing and growing older. In fact, I didn't even know how to be happy that I was alive and well and thankful that I had awoken with breath in my body because I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to be here. When I washed, and at the time, there were several times a day as I got older that I just couldn't get clean enough. And I would scrub and I would scrub and I would scrub to the point that once again, my breasts were sore. My breast and I had somewhat of a fight. They didn't get much bigger. So when I finally embraced them and said, I want breasts because it seems like, yeah, excuse me, it seems like the ones who are getting attention in school are the ones who have breasts. So now that I know that I'm a young woman, at least let me look the part. I don't want you to touch me. I don't want you to look at me really. But should you glance my way, I had breasts, size A, B at best, on a good day. So I always thought about my breasts because a lot of times I compared myself to other women because as a young lady, they were the model. You see, I was the oldest. And not only was I the oldest, I was one of the first grandkids, especially on my mother's side, a side which I spend the majority of my time with. So once again, I'm comparing myself to other females. There was no danger when it came to my breast. In fact, years later, I realized my breast was the majority of my sexual sensation, my intimacy. Foreplay was serious in my book. I know I'm being blunt, I know I'm being just open, but you have to understand that breasts are something that's important in a young lady's life starting at yay high. And if that's the purest part on your body, that's something you want to keep. My breasts held me down so much that they impacted my relationship with my sons because being a survivor of sexual abuse, I couldn't even fathom or imagine having my sons get the nutrients that they need from my body, thanks to breast. So I'm trying to maintain myself because this grows more and more. So as a young lady, let's just say, when you're learning about life and you've got a mate and you know, as I got older and older, I realized, hey, these might not be so bad, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I still had mental problems as it pertains to touching my breast. I remember explaining it to my mother, and she said, well, that's normal. That's normal that they hurt so bad. But I didn't hear these discussions from my peers and my schoolmates in the bathroom where I heard the discussions of your period. I didn't hear the discussions of how it came into play as far as fondling. I didn't hear any of those discussions. So once again, I'm going through life at a point that I have now become a young lady. I have now become one who is in the area of going out to the world where it's just my breast and I. How was I going to stay sane with the constant realization that I had them to protect? They were my girls. I had daughters before I ever became pregnant. They were my boobs. They were my tatas. They were my titties. They were my jugs. They were all mine. You see, we say these words and these different slang terms as if it's all fun and games. And I'm sure it is. Believe me, I used them very well when I got to celebrate the removal of my friend. Now let's get a little bit into that. I learned to be subconscious of my breast, not only from abuse, was because of my mother. She had the same affliction. She had the same connection. I didn't know every story, but I knew enough to know, man, she must have a relationship like I do when it pertains to breast. So before we go further in this discussion, I should let you know that you might want to refresh your coffee or get whatever it was you were drinking because we're going to get deeper. Now stay tuned. We're going to have a quick commercial break.
Hi, guys. It's Tina Wen, your host of the podcast, You See Me. I want you guys to stay encouraged, continue to come out and see me, and most importantly, see yourselves. Remember, the only way that you can truly enjoy life is to see other people so that you can enjoy the beauty of seeing yourself. Come join me Saturdays at 4 on the We Empowered Network. Thank you.
Welcome back, my loves. Let's continue our discussion of my breast. So, as I mentioned before the commercial break, my mother and I shared a relationship with our individual bodies surrounded by around our breast, like maybe other mothers and daughters share. I have no idea because it was not something I discussed with anyone else. Okay. My mother and I had the same makeup, so to speak. Now, I can't tell you I was an athlete at the time, and I didn't really want them to move. I want them to stay in place. And when I was coming up, there was nothing about an athletic thrive that we ever knew about. Okay. I could remember seeing my schoolmates and my friends playing these sports and their breasts just freely moving in the activity as if they were playing the sports along with them. I always thought of the person and their breast almost as if it was just something that came with them that they could put on every single morning. Well, in 2009, mind you, I had been living with this constant thought of my breast, which let me go back to this. Every day when I came in, the first thing that came off was my bra. I didn't I didn't like the binding. I didn't like the confining. I wanted the freedom to let me breathe. Okay. But in 2009, I got a call. I'll never forget it. Hey, Wanda, I want to let you know something, baby. I got breast cancer. At the time, I was in Georgia and I'm from Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee. In fact, is where my mother was located. And my first thought was, I got to get to her as fast as I can. But my kids are in school, and at the time, I was a housewife. I was enjoying it, and I had the freedom, the opportunity to go see her. But now I needed to work because we needed the extra income for me to be able to afford to see her as much as I can. I can remember having a discussion with her about her breast cancer, particularly after we were able to be told that it was the type of a triple negative breast cancer diagnosis, which is the most deadliest form. My mom was at a stage two. The, the, the crazy thing about it is she did not find her breast cancer lump during an examination. She just happened to get out the shower and drying off and look at herself in the mirror. And I thought that was so profound because how often do we look at ourselves? I mean, really look at ourselves when we're bare naked and we're simply there with nothing but ourselves and our bodies to deal with. I know why I didn't look at myself. I didn't want to look at my breast. I didn't want to see my breast. I felt inadequate. Come on, guys, girls rather, work with me. I gotta put on this prom dress. I gotta put on this dress for this wedding that I'm in. I gotta go out there and dress real nicely and walk across the stage in front of people. Give me some endowment. My mother felt the same way. So her diagnosis was even harder because now she's faced with, should I keep them or should I let my girls go? She decided not to. She couldn't fathom the thought. I know that she never breastfed us for the same reasons that I could not. I know that in some way the thought was, I may impact the minds of my children should I do this. I know it's going to be hard on me, but what if by breastfeeding them, something happens that I can't control? because I couldn't control it with my other abusers. So something must be different. Couldn't let them go. I remember having a discussion with her, like, are you serious? Them puppies off. Get rid of them. They're trying to kill you. But you see, I'm coming from a daughter's perspective because I need you here. If you're telling me you got a diagnosis that at any stage, regardless of what they say, 1, 2, 3, or 4, it could take you out, I need you to remove them. And I said this so freely as if they were mine. And I felt, how can you do this? How can you be so selfish as to not remove them? And she couldn't fathom the thought. She couldn't explain why. But it was at that point I thought, I know we got problems when it comes to these breasts, but they got to go. She couldn't fathom the thought. My mom went through hell fighting breast cancer. But she had some contentment in knowing that she was going to fight it with her breast intact. Now, I can't say that I made a request of God. I didn't have that close a relationship with him, but I did know that normally when I made requests, he took care of it. See, that's the problem I have with religion, spirituality, whatever you want to name it, is be careful what you ask for. Because whether you believe and whether you have a relationship, whether you want him in your life at all, he's there. If he wasn't, you wouldn't be here. Now, you might ask yourself, why is she bringing up God in all this? Well, let me tell you, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have started this breast cancer journey at a young age anyway. I came to learn the lesson later on because I asked him. I'm pretty strong. I've been through some stuff in this lifetime, and your girl made it through. I got out the projects. I made it to college, had it fully paid for. I screwed all that up, but I did it. I did it. I got a degree. Look at all that I've done. Anybody in my family has to get breast cancer, make it me, because I can handle it. That's hard for me to say. That's hard for me to get, but it was the truth. I was willing to let go of my girls just as freely as I told my mother to let them go because I knew I could fight them and move on with life with some new, bigger breasts. Be careful what you ask for. Because not only did I ask him for this once, but I can't count the number of times I asked him this. And matter of fact, I told people this story proudly because I had control. That's the one aspect I had control. I was going to lose my girls for the benefit of everyone that loves me. In 2014, I got my wish. I got my breast cancer diagnosis. And believe it or not, my first thought was, I'm not going to fight this. You see, everything happens for a reason. And if I got it, I asked for it, I'm going to fight it valiantly. I'm not going to fight it valiantly. I'm going to let it take its course. So you might ask, how did your mind change? My mind changed because, once again, mental illness reared its head. And because if you heard anything about earlier stories, you'll know that, and I'm not going to say the word that, so if you get triggered, please, now is the time to leave. But I had been suicidal. I had that idealization I don't know if I'm saying the word right. I've never been able to say the word right, but all I could say it was always right there in the front of my mind. I don't remember waking up a day from 4 up that I didn't think of it. I don't remember a day. And I also got that from my mother. I I hate what she went through, but because of her everything else, and then her breast, she decided I could never get rid of them. Between her diagnosis and her fight, and between my diagnosis and my fight, I never stopped hearing about breast. Every year when my mother had to take her exam, all I would hear was the workup, the build up, anxiety, her depression before her mammogram, and then I would feel the release or hear about the release after her mammogram. And all I could think of was, why didn't you take them off? And you know it's going to be okay. And stop letting it out your mouth. Stop thinking it. I said all these things very easily because I love my mom and I want her to be here. But I said, Mom, we go through this every year. I said this probably about 2011. I started saying this. Come on, Mom. Come on. Stop doing this to yourself. It wasn't until 2014, sometime after I told someone, oh, I'm so frustrated with my mom and what she goes through every year when it comes time for the mammogram. I'm so frustrated that she tells my sister and I constantly, get your mammogram, get your mammogram, get your mammogram. I can tell you that the reason I asked for to get breast cancer was not only because I could handle it, because the likelihood was high. Genetically, my mother came from a family that was plagued with some type of cancer or some type of or diabetes very heavily. As a matter of fact, many of the members that I knew, and I did know them all, but the ones that I knew transitioned because of diabetes or cancer. So think about it. My mom was always waiting for it. And in some way, after her diagnosis, I was waiting for it. When it came time for me to make the decision to whether or not to keep my girl, it was a no-brainer. Before they were giving me this long, drawn out, well, in your mind, and you got to think about this hard, and you got to do this and that. I'd already said it's got to go. Then I made this decision to take the other one as well because I want to reduce the chances. I'm not gonna go through this fight again. I'm gonna show my mom not only can do it, but you can do it and be proud. I knew in my mind I couldn't fathom the thought of having implants because of my relationship with my breast. Yes, I was gonna take them off, but I was gonna do it for my mom because now it was no longer about me. Yes, it's gonna impact my relationship with my husband. I'm just sure of it because that something we enjoy so much will no longer be there. I was willing to let them go only if I could get them back with tissue from my own body. I went through hell trying to qualify for that surgery, a 10-hour surgery to rebuild my girls, the new ones that were just repositioned. So to me, I still have my girls. Did I mention I was able to breastfeed my daughter because she was a female, and I didn't feel like I was touching her inappropriately. And now I made the decision to get rid of my girls for my mom. And even after doing so, she still couldn't fathom the thought. She still couldn't fathom the thought. She wasn't even at her 10-year mark yet. And I found out that you can go and say, I want them out. I want them done at any point. There are so many laws and programs and things that are available to people who have been diagnosed with breast cancer. Yet I never heard this type of information being talked about, not on a broad scale. And you know why? Because we don't. And you know why? I realize as a society, we may not want to talk about it or hear it until we're affected by it. And even then, we still may not want to hear the information. But now it became personal for me. Not only did you take my girls away, which I willingly let go, I'm not telling you the third part about it that I'll tell you on the third part of this, but I did them for another reason as well. But I was going to let them go. I was going to show my mom, you can do it. I was going to show my mom, hey, I got your back. I cut my hair off for you. We're going to go through this together. Mom couldn't fathom the thought. And so she didn't do it. And I thought, come on. Little did I know, in for the fight of my life. The irony, humor in it all. I had stage 0. And the first thing I thought is, what the hell is a stage 0? Is this pre-cancer? Is this something that hadn't even come to fruition yet? And you expect me to do something about it? Well, let me go back to the point that I was going to give, that I was not going to do anything. You know, it's because of my thoughts of suicide. And you know that I thought, wow, I ain't even got to do this myself. Let it happen. I couldn't do that because my husband walked back in the house at the point that the call was made to tell me that I had breast cancer. And upon looking at his face, it's almost as if he was also on the call. I knew then I had to fight. So now it's time to make something good out of it. Okay. You gonna take them? Well, guess what? I'm gonna get the breasts that I always want. I'm not gonna get these little flapjacks. I'm not gonna get these little big ones that just the wind can't even. But you don't want to know all that. I become proud of them. I really didn't need to wear a bra, but I had to aesthetically. Now I gotta fight and take them off. I didn't give a second thought, but I did something else. I let them present breast cancer genetic testing to me. And I thought, great. Now I can stop hearing my mom say, I'm so sorry I gave this to you. I'm so sorry that my family had this gene. It has to be genetic. Well, there was no proof. So why we keep claiming this once again, Mom? And guess what? There is no contraceptive to stop a gene. So it was, hey, nobody else may have to deal with this, and let's take one for the team. I caught hell, infections, surgeries. I've probably had 9 to date because of the decision I made. My intimacy didn't have to be over had I not taken off the second breast. You see, I hadn't even looked at the fact that there's a procedure called nipple sparing, which means that they could have kept my original nipple so I could have something of me that resembled the old. I didn't know that was possible. I did not know that I would be able to feel my breasts. They're still here. They're just like in a nipple. I bet you can't pinch me. I bet you can't punch me. Nipples. I'm gonna leave nipples for another day. I took them off, and now every year I had to hear my mom say, "I gave this to you, and it's been proven." You see, we both have a mutated gene. It's called the ATM gene, just like where you get money, and it's mutated, and it has a high probability, matter of fact, in the 90s, contribution to a person developing breast cancer. So I had to hear that from now on. I came to regret that test because my mom constantly thought about breast cancer. She never let it go. She never let it go. After my fight, what I came to realize is the reason she never let it go is because it never lets go of you. I came to realize that breast can be so important to some women. It ain't a vanity. It ain't, it ain't, I can't even think of other words for it. It ain't selfishness. It ain't self-centeredness. It's because a part of you has been ransacked. A part of you is now poisoned. A part of you is toxic, but it's going to take away your femininity. It's going to take away aesthetically how you feel as a woman. See, breast cancer is bigger than a disease. Breast cancer went into my pain. Breast cancer went into my mind. Breast cancer was all a part of my life. Everywhere I looked, everybody I talked to, everybody was affected in some kind of way by breast cancer. Breast tissue with milk ducts that are supposed to have the nutrients. I'm talking about a female that your child immunity now has been poisoned, tainted. And I'm stage 0 and I have to make a decision to take my breast off. How does that match up? How does that go together? Exactly. So when I valiantly made that decision, I had to do it for somebody else because I knew I couldn't do it for just myself because we had this contentious relationship that in fact I enjoyed. Y'all gotta excuse me. I made the decision to talk for an hour and now my mouth is dry. You don't know how it feels to constantly be surrounded by the word breast. Now, I'm telling you this from a somber perspective because I'm going to wrap this up on the positive perspective. But I want the women to know that you are not alone. You are not alone. Sometimes we feel like we have to go through this fight by ourselves. Sometimes we feel like our breast is all that we have. They're centered around it. You can have a big butt, but if you ain't got no breast, you have a nice shape, but if you ain't got no breast, you have to cover them whether they're there or not. All of these things became personal for me, very personal, because it took me a long time to accept my newfound breasts. They were, in fact, even though it 9 surgeries, I was a successful case because I got through the tough part. I can't tell you how many people say, "Oh, well, yours was easy." Oh, thank goodness they caught it early. You breast removed, you went on, had the procedure. I would have done that quickly. Well, guys, some people do. Some people get through it and they ain't thought no more about it. They too big, they heavy, they hurting their back. Whatever the decision was made that they got rid of. Some people okay, and some people don't even put them back because you know what? I can't deal with this right now. You ain't gonna ever come back and affect my life. And some people don't even have the option of getting them back. Breast cancer is deeper than what it sounds like and what it seems. No matter what the stage, no matter, I never had a lump. Been massaging, touching all day. I never would have known, but I had to take mammogram, which is a contentious story, which is a wild story in itself. I got my mammogram to be diagnosed early. Yes, I'm blessed, but at the time I couldn't see that blessing because the zero and the segments don't add up. But in fact, I had a type, even at stage zero. I could have waited the very next year and a lump had been formated. They were in my milk ducts, and it's called DCIS. I need you to know that you have to be very encouraging and motivating, but don't insult someone with breast cancer. Don't say, well, you went through it easy. Because I had no radiation. I had no chemotherapy. I saw what that was like. But I felt unworthy because all I did was remove my breast. Then I came back and got these bigger breasts because I asked for them. And I can remember, I ain't never told nobody this story, y'all. This is the funny part to me. When I came to, after 10 hours of them remaking them, the first thing I said was, they ain't big enough. They ain't big enough. My doctor just fell out laughing and said, no wonder they're pretty big. And I asked for a full C. But as I was going through the process and they were doing their thing and I got all the drains out and all, y'all, it ain't easy. I don't care how you look at it. If you got chemo or not. The mind, just think about it. Most times people don't think about it. And many times we say, I'll let me know if anything I could do. I say it all the time because we don't know what to do. We don't know what to say. Know that if a person has a diagnosis, you don't know what they're going through. And here I was going through a mental fight with breast. I did not feel worthy to have breast cancer because I didn't go through the rigorous and the torturous treatments that other women had. I had a mental breakdown. I had a friend who called me every day who kept saying, be careful. No, she kept saying, you have a right to feel what you feel. I said this to everybody. I said this to everybody. You have a right to feel what you feel. It didn't hit home. It didn't hit home. I can remember going to a conference, breast cancer conference, because someone paid for me, someone I did not know, who I know now. She's still going through the fight of the remnants of the things that have happened to her since her diagnosis of breast cancer. Okay. And that was, I met her in 2014. I can remember walking into that conference, and the first thing I said is, I don't want to be here. And instantly, I felt like a damn fool because no one really be there, but they had to. I'm talking to other women who have no breast, who had them redone, and now they have to lose them. Who I know people right now. It took they were so violent, it took everything to put on a swimsuit because we have to cover them. I want to see the calendar full of women with no shirts on who show their breast. But we're not ready. We're not ready for any of that. We're a world that sometimes can be so inconsiderate and don't have the passion because we don't want to have the knowledge. We run around ignorant about a lot of stuff. And I don't, you know what? I'm just as ignorant. Just as ignorant. But I'm saying all this to say it's deeper than breast cancer. And if we don't have it and we can understand that, we can figure out ways to help. Okay. Um, Now we're going to go into what I say is the positive outlook of having breast cancer. But before I do, let me tell you, this has been the most difficult show thus far because at the end of the day, I lost my mom this year and cancer came to from 2019, her 10-year anniversary, cancer was back. Cancer was back. Now we're going to go into the positive side, but please stay tuned for this commercial break. Freshen your coffee.
What's up, family? It's your girl, Terry Y. Hicks of the amazing Fab Five, and I am here to tell you to tune into the Empowered Morning Show Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the WIN Network.
Welcome back. I hope you have enjoyed this show thus far. I know I'm being very open, very transparent, very honest, probably a little somber. But now let's look at a good side of this. Just today, I am able to work out and go walk. And I'm going to walk in that gym with my breast cancer skirt on, with my breast cancer scarf on, with my pink on. You know, I'm going to wear my earrings and I'm going to work out because there was a time I couldn't do it thanks to breast cancer. I now embrace my breasts. They have gone, I was in some doubles once and I had to get them reduced. I love them. They're right where they need to be. It didn't do anything to my relationship with my husband, but bring us closer. It took well over 3, maybe 4. No, it took longer than that, probably 6 years before I even let him touch him. My mind's in a better place when it comes to breast cancer. It makes me sad because of what people go through, but I have met women, I have met men, I have met women and men who have lost their relationships, who haven't told their family, who haven't told anyone, not even their spouse, till it came down to treatment. It's deeper than breast cancer. My breasts are a part of me now. I no longer see Frankenstein. I no longer see that Wolverine has put his initials all over me. I no longer see that gaping hole that I saw that was there after surgery. I no longer see the infections that put finger-length holes in my chest that I had to treat and pack. I no longer see that because that's a part of breast cancer. That's a part of the journey with your breast. What I'd like for you to do is think about the fact that breast are a very intimate part of a person. Okay. Sometimes people can remove them easily and feel free for whatever reason, and sometimes people can't. I now embrace it. I now tell my story every October, and every time I tell it, I get more and more revealing. I open myself up more and more. I'm no longer afraid to talk about it. My modesty left a long time ago. For years, I had guilt that I removed the second one without even knowing the diagnosis. At the time, I didn't know God enough to say, okay, you seem to be in the granting business. You seem to be in the, you ask for it, I give it to you. May not come when I want it, but they say it's right on time. I'm at peace. My mom was valiant. She couldn't remove her breast. And you don't know how hard it was for me to hear her say upon her fourth hit with breast cancer, because now it had manifested into her spine and possibly into her brain. You don't know how hard it was for me to hear her say, I should remove them, because I know that I'm part of the reason she's going through that guilt. I should have never imposed that how easy it should be to remove them, because that's a personal decision. I later apologized for everything I said, because I was being very inconsiderate of what she has gone through and what she was going through in her relationship with her breast. You see, we have a relationship with every part of our body, from our toenails. Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you. From our toenails, our fingernails, all parts of our skin. Ever since I had breast cancer, my body was exposed, and it seemed like all the issues, the health issues, came to the forefront and said, you think you did something when you fought breast cancer, baby? Fight. My body and I have been at warfare forever. My body, mind. A lot of people think when I say breast cancer was a fight, and I may have come across now to say breast cancer was a fight because of the orifice, because of the tissue, because of my breast, but really it was a mind thing, because I mentioned earlier, it started not in the formation of my breast, but because of my experiences with my breast. And I now know that was part of my mother's journey, because we talked deeply about it. I said I regretted having that genetic testing, but that was probably the best decision I ever made, because my gene mutation is also connected with pancreatic cancer. And for many years, it was connected with colon cancer, and I had to take a colonoscopy every year. And just about 2, maybe 3 years ago, colon cancer came off the list. And the only way that happened is because women like me and other strong humans decide to go for genetic testing, and they can get statistics and data over time as they're constantly studying not genealogy, genes and the chromosomes and everything. They can understand better what's truly affecting something and what's truly not. There are other things that you can do health-wise that can contribute to breast cancer. The truth of it is things like smoking and drinking and diet, like exercise. You wait till I tell you the story of how the diagnosis came. Why is it they didn't find it the year before when I had my mammogram? Why is it so widespread in such a short amount of time? Interesting. The importance of breast cancer examinations is so important to me. Look, the importance is so important to me. It is, you have to preach that to everybody. Man, I know a man right now who's fighting it. He may have a gene mutation because his cancer started in his pancreas, migrated around his back, came up back through his underarm, and is now a part of his breast. And he said that's the worst part. The pancreatic cancer don't even bother him. You know what his treatment is? He works every day hard as he can to keep his mind off of it. I now know I'm so careful and considerate in what I say to someone who has a diagnosis. You see, there are many people that I've talked to throughout the years who heard those dreaded words and needed somebody to support them. I'll never stop talking to them. I don't care what they say. There is no story they can tell me that I don't know a little bit or something about. I've been to so many support groups. I've walked in so many modeling shows. I've gone on so many walks. I've given out so much to children and breast cancer patients who are going through treatment at the different breast centers throughout the Middle Tennessee area. I'm in it. I'm still fighting. I'm a warrior. It's not about me. It's not about me. And yet it was all about me. This awareness is not to just say, oh, somebody had breast cancer. Let's make everybody aware that this breast cancer is just a possibility. No, I'm coming to you with the real deal. I'm coming to you with the fact that I had just bought some pasties. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I still have them, and I cannot mentally put them on. But the good thing about that is I ain't gonna have to put them on, because when I get my tattoos, baby, I've been waiting for the right time. The year was 2014. So I'm ready. If the Lord says the same, next year will be my 10-year anniversary. I know I feel anxious because that's when my mom got her answer. But I'm not going to make a request. You best believe that. I don't need it. I went to therapy to find that those very words were so sad, because it showed that I did not care about myself, and I care for others more than I do myself. So this time is different. I asked God to help me stop smoking. Yes, I smoke. I haven't smoked since 2018, have no desire. I asked God to help me with my intake of alcohol. Right now, I can't hardly finish a glass of wine unless I force myself to. I asked God to give me the wisdom on what I can do to eat better. Well, I'm still working on that one, because guess what? Sugar, sugar, sugar is one of the top contributors to cancer and breast cancer. My relationship with my breast is still there. We are no longer in contention. I no longer talk to people that think the first thing they see is the fact that my breasts have grown over the years, especially if I haven't seen them in a while. I don't make as big of a deal with it myself. Matter of fact, I hate putting on breasts on swimsuit tops, because I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of them. I could fight you on that one, because, well, I'll let you think about it. We're coming close to an end. I wish very much that now's the time. If you have any questions, that you post them. If you're not watching me on the live that you see up in the corner, still post your questions, still post your comments, and I will respond to them. The We Empower work is another thing that I know God put in my life to give me a platform to reach more people, to talk about breast cancer. I know that God, He told me my relationship with my breast was not in vain. It was for a reason. It was to prepare me for this very moment. I have reached more people who have cancer, just cancer, and been able to support them in their journey and their fight. Many have transitioned on. And that was why I was in the fight myself, because I had angels. I had people who were supporting me. And at the time, I didn't even know how to accept that support. That's another story. You could tell someone, oh, child, yours is easy. But don't do it like that. So I thank God you didn't have to go through those procedures. You're very welcome, Angela. I thank you for watching. I thank God I didn't have to go through those procedures, but I don't take for granted at all of what He has prevented me from experiencing and for what other people are experiencing. They need mental support just as much as they need your balloons, your pink, your different merch, your walks. They need all of that, but they also need support. Reach out to someone you know and ask them how they're doing. I put it in my calendar. I have a reminder to reach out to these different people who have reached out to me to express that they have cancer. I have reached out to people who don't even know me and supported them through their journey. Then I carry on my way. I know what it's like. I know how it feels. And I never want anyone else to feel like they're not worthy when they heard such treacherous words. I never want anybody to feel like I'm going to wait till you tell me what you need, because guess what? Sometimes they don't even know what they need till you present it. I want people to fight valiantly, and I want people to know whatever your decision is, no matter what, when it comes to breast cancer, just go with it through God. Go through it with some type of belief system. Let other people help you. And the second they become negative, or the second they become, I did that to my mom. So I really can't say let them go, because I don't want my mom to dang, let me think about that one. But the second, tell them how you feel. The second they come at you in a way that you can't accept, especially people you know. I ain't talking about people you don't know. Just, yeah, it was, you know what? I'm worthy. Say that. I am enough, and I'm worthy, and I was so blessed and highly favored. My mom ain't here, but she went with her girls, her original girls, and I hate that she felt like she should have got rid of them, because I had to explain to her, your decision was the decision that you needed at the time that you was going through that journey. So please don't regret it, because God kept you even longer than you expected to live. Try your best not to give up. Try your best to know that your breast will always be a part of you. Try your best. I didn't see that if that was a question, but I'll come back and respond to it. We're nearing the end. I thank you for watching. My name is Wanda Leonard. Come back every Saturday, 9 o'clock a.m. Central, 10 o'clock p.m. You are watching A Made Up Mess on the We Empower Network. I'll see you next week, and we're going to continue these discussions. Bye.